Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. I suppose it was inevitable that prisons would eventually go fully woke, and I'm going to talk you through some developments there. I mean, the reality is we've come a long way from whenever we had Ronnie Barker in Her Majesty's prison Slade with all those old lags around him. Do you remember that brilliant series on BBC going back many years? But anyway, that was another world, and of course it was a fantasy as well. It has to be said, prisons tend not to be full of the nicest people, but there's been a significant move, I think, to fundamentally change what prison is, something I've long argued against. So I wanted to share this with you and let you make your mind up on this. I'm interested in your views, basically, because prisons are seriously going woke. And as you can see in the headline here, a woke prison vocabulary, let's just see if we can focus on it here. A woke prison vocabulary sees prisoners become residents. Yes, apparently they're residents. Prison cells are now rooms, maybe pied-à-terres, and holding cells are waiting rooms. Yeah, so what do you reckon to that? Furthermore, as you can see, prison blocks are now communities. Yeah, they're communities, hopefully diverse, and offenders out on license. They're not offenders anymore. They're supervised individuals. Yeah, that sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah, let's examine it a little bit more. As you can see, and this is the complete insanity at the heart of this. It says here, it's hoped that the change in terminology, that's what it's about, folks. The change in terminology is going to facilitate the perception of prisons, making them places for rehabilitation and reducing the stigma of ex-inmates being labelled as offenders. Well, actually, heads up, they were offenders. That's why they were in prison. But hey, let's make the language different so that's not the case. Now, who brought all this about? I think we should consider that. Well, yes, it's the CEO, Jo Farrer. Lovely Jo. She has updated the language on a tweet she put out the other day, referring to inmates as residents. A clear shift in vocabulary. Now, rightly so, it's pointed out here, many will take objection to such terms for inmates, hardened criminals, some of whom have been convicted of committing such heinous crimes as rape, murder, and child abuse. And I'm with Ian Atchison, by the way, former prison governor, who suggests that prisons should really focus on delivering a safe, ordered, and purposeful prison rather than parroting fashionable orthodoxies. And of course, he is absolutely right in that regard. But this is the issue we need to confront, because in this attempt to pretend that prisons aren't what they should be, we undermine the point of having prisons in the first place, quite honestly. It is that simple. I don't believe that prisons necessarily are places for rehabilitation. I think prisons should be, in the main, places for punishment, so that once you go there, you never ever want to go back. The reality is far too many convicts, criminals, recognize that prisons are a soft touch. And therefore, if they get caught and they have to go back, it's not a big deal. It's not a problem. If we made prisons much more rigorous and we took away indulgences from prisoners, I believe we would see fewer prisoners. And as I said at the beginning, to get to prison, you have got to have committed a custodial, you've got to have committed a crime for which there is a custodial sentence. You don't just get sentenced to go to prison for anything, especially because we have such a weak prison justice system in the first place. So to get into prison, you've done something that's pretty bad, and therefore I think you should be punished in such a way that you never ever repeat and you never go back. I don't care about the feels of the convicts. I care about the feelings of their victims. And so from that point of view, this woke prison inspector seeking to introduce woke language just further undermines that, which is already pretty ropey.